I don't want to go back to corporate. I don't like people telling me what to do. You're never going to be able to sell it. You're too old. If you want to get some incentives, you have to invest at the minimum is 500 million ringgit.
Did you manage to clean up your cap table?
There was a plus point for me with 500. They said.
Today we have Michèle with us. She is a powerhouse entrepreneur making waves in the beverage industry here in Singapore. She's the CEO and founder of Wild Boocha, a very popular kombucha brand here. Now, demand for them is growing, and that's why she's moving her production to Malaysia, JB, and she's also expanding into that market and beyond. Welcome, Michèle. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. And maybe let's start off with how you are a lawyer, right? You're a lawyer by training.
Yes, I didn't pass the bar, so I never, did the whole court thing.
Right.
Always in the private sector.
The interesting thing is, how do you transit from a legal profession to Wild Boocha?
Very randomly. So when I came to Singapore 12 years ago, I came as a trailing spouse with my husband. He was transferred here. So yes, I left behind a really well-paid job at TNT Airways, which is a transport airline cargo company.
Right.
Came here, was a housewife for a while, enjoyed that. But then after a while, you get the bug and the buzz to kind of start doing something else. Right. And my first experience as a founder was not with kombucha. I got into the energy balls business.
Wow.
So not the bars, but little balls. And it was called Ministry of Balls. And a friend and I founded it. And for about a year, we did that. She left. We sold the company. And after a while, so that's when I did the stint at the Singapore Academy of Law. And a friend of mine, that was back in 2018, had traveled to the UK and had discovered kombucha there. So her name is Summer. She was my then co-founder. When she came back, she realized kombucha here in Asia was, never nowhere to be found. We looked, and the only thing we found was a dietitian who was giving classes on learning how to make it, for your own kind of home-based consumption. We went to the class, loved the kombucha and how to make it. And Summer actually started developing quite a lot of flavors. She got many friends ordering it from her. And so after a while, her and I, because she was really the creator, I was more the kind of back office framework legal person behind it. So we partnered up and gave it a shot. And so we said, let's just homebrew first, see if we can get some actual restaurants and bistros to order, which we did quite fast. One of the first ones was a Dempsey project.
Right.
From there, it just kind of snowballed. So that kind of home-based brewing, her kitchen overflowed. So we said, okay, let's move to a shop house, one step up and see how it goes. And then I was still working at the time, but that project was ending at the Singapore Academy of Law. So when it finished, I said, I don't want to go back to corporate. I love doing this hands-on kind of thing where you at the end of the day what you have done. You see something real coming out.
Right.
So I said to Summer, let's really partner up. And so in January 2019, we formally incorporated. And it just kind of rolled from there. We spoke to cafes, restaurants, and we kind of grew stage by stage. So in 2020, the shop house was again overflowing, and so we decided to really move into manufacturing at that point in time, and to commit, because we had to make a decision, right? Does it remain a passion, a side project, or do we really go full on with this and commit? So that's what happened in 2020.
Right. And the last time I saw you was at AngelCentral. You were pitching. I remember going to your factory at Mandai Link, right? You had all the setup there, and you had a lot of plans then as well, as you were sharing with us. Maybe can you tell us, since then, from then till now, what has happened?
Sure. So I think AngelCentral I pitched, I was sometime mid-June 2024, if memory serves me right. So I ended up, not working with AngelCentral. I think we'll come to that later. I did end up finding another investor, a VC fund. They're called 500 Southeast Asia. So they invested in the dream I sold as well at AngelCentral, which was to really make Wild Boocha or any future brands that we might develop the #1 kombucha brand in the region, and not just Singapore anymore.
Right.
And for that, I needed obviously money, because equipment costs a lot of money.
Yep.
So they invested, and from then onwards in October 2024, I worked hard on kind of drawing out that whole expansion plan, exploring Johor, because the plan was to move the production to Johor for space reasons and cost optimization.
Right.
It's not a secret that it's Singapore is not the best country to do manufacturing, because space is scarce. So you have they have to optimize, and it's a bit more expensive. So we decided to go ahead. And as soon as 500 came through, I ordered the equipment, and we've moved since then. So just recently in June, 2 months ago, we set up our new factory in Johor. So that was, big milestone #1. In parallel, last year I started the IP process for the Wild Boocha brand, which is also quite a big milestone. It's still ongoing. It takes about 12 to 18 months with the IP lawyers. So we're going Singapore, but also we're registering the brand in the region. We've finalized our new line of ambient shelf-stable cans. It's going to be a different brand called Micha or Micha, depends on how you want to pronounce it. It's MICHA.
Right.
And it's 4 super colorful cans of kombucha that will probably launch sometime in November this year. Singapore and Malaysia to start. Hopefully, we'll see them in the shelf soon. So yeah, all of that has been happening. And, because of this whole expansion plan, I have had to kind of set business development on the side a bit these past months and focus more on stabilizing the parent company. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster, many things happening, but all good.
So, you mentioned about you starting this, I think at home and then the shop houses. And were there any naysayers when you wanted to become a startup founder? And how did you navigate all these objections?
Yeah, there were definitely naysayers, and he's going to scold me for this, but I think the first one was my husband. He then, completely flipped to being my biggest fan.
Yeah.
But in the early days, yes, people were saying, well, what is this? What is kombucha? It's sour. It's not nice to drink. It's too niche. You're never going to get any traction for it. You're too old. I got that quite a few times as well, saying, you're going to do a startup, you're going to become founder, at age 6 years ago, 35 something. So yeah, there were definitely naysayers, people saying, it was funny because I had very conflicting feedback on many fronts. Some saying, it's too niche, no one knows what it is, you're never going to be able to sell it.
Right.
Or people saying, oh, the market is already saturated. Going to have to compete with massive brands out there like Remedy, GT's, Brew Doctor, etc. But kind of overcoming all of those hurdles and obstacles, I think you have to really believe in yourself, believe in the product. I knew we had something amazing, and kind of reinforcing that through constant validation. So as soon as I would go out and have people sample it, you would see people's faces and reaction going, oh, this is really nice. I've had kombucha before. And so that really reinforces your self-belief. You know that your product is good. So you kind of overcome those naysayers with that and just kind of going full steam ahead. You listen, you hear what they say, but you can't let it get to you. That's really, I think, one of the major lessons I've learned is yeah, I hear you, you have a point, but I think I'm right anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead.
Right, because it does sound like you have varying opinions here. Nobody knows it, so you have the big boys like Remedy here, and you just have to listen, take all this in, and then make your own decisions, right? And on that front, back then I remember you get a lot of interest from angels, from VCs, right? I know you didn't go with AngelCentral, but how did you decide who to go with in the end? What was that thought process?
It was a really big learning curve. So the first time I spoke to a VC, actually it wasn't a VC, it was a private investor, a distribution company here in Singapore, and they were really interested. But they wanted way too much too early. They wanted 50% of the company.
Right.
So you kind of, I needed an investment to be able to get ahead with this product. So initially you're like, maybe I'll consider it. But then you talk to people around you. I have friends who are also, founders and startups who have been through this process. So it's using your network, getting feedback from them, and them saying, don't do it, it's not worth it. Okay, then let's move on to the next one. And as you have these discussions, because I knew what I wanted, but the nitty-gritty and the details of it wasn't really clear in my mind. So as you're talking to these many, parties and players, they have been doing this for a while, so they know what they want. And it's listening and it is going with your gut feeling and saying, it has to be a synergy. There has to be a click when you share that vision with that person or that VC or that angel. If they share the same vision, okay, then let's talk about, the next step. So for me, deciding that was really that gut feeling, sitting down, talking about what I saw, and then they coming back with their, list of veto rights or whatever else they, have in mind. And the decision to go with, in the end, 500 Southeast Asia really was a click. When I spoke to them for the first time, everything I said was validated. We had the same long-term goals. They didn't want a quick out. They said we're here for 5 to 10 years, however much you need to, really see this through. And the level of involvement as well, because I had spoken to some angel investors, and angels really are, it's a passion.
Right.
It's a personal thing. So when you offer them a share in a company, very often they want to be involved. I want to see what's happening. Can I come? Do you need advice? I'm a very independent person. I don't like people telling me what to do, which is, I think, why I went from corporate to founder, because I can do my own thing.
Right.
And so having those discussions and them saying, oh, every month we want to have, a page of whatever else you've done. So I can't do that, because if I do that, then I'm going to lose my time doing that and not focusing on the business. I don't want you breathing down my neck. So finding an investor who, yes, advises you and gives you strategic insight into things is very important. So finding that balance of what I wanted and what they wanted really helped make a decision for us.
Right, okay. One of the concerns I remember that was discussed is that you had, I think, early investors, a few investors in your cap table. Those were angels, I think.
Yeah.
Did you manage to clean up your cap table, and how did you do that?
Actually, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
They're still very much on the cap table. And that was another interesting point, when I spoke to other, like AngelCentral or other VCs, most of them, yes, wanted me to clean that cap table up.
Right.
The reason, again, that was a plus point for me with 500 was that they never really asked that. They said, we know these people have supported you from the beginning. They are here for a reason. And yet we had discussions, obviously, maybe secondary sales,
right,
organizing an exit, and it was offered to them, but it was never forced.
Okay.
And in the end, those angel investors who are friends, very early stages, decided to stay on because they said, we believe in you, and we believe in your vision and the brand, and if this new big shareholder allows us to, we'd like to stay. So we're still very many on the cap table.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and they're all very hands off. And again, that's what I kind of liked, is that synergy, that we all get along, and no one's trying to really push someone out.
Okay.
So yeah.
So the thing is, I like the thing that they said they were early with you, right? You do not want to kick them out.
Yeah.
They've been supporting you, so you want to keep them, but that shows your integrity for the rest of the investors as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think on the other hand, I do understand if for some companies they have a lot of investors on the cap table, decision making becomes difficult.
It does, for sure. It is. And we had to obviously make sure that in all the contractual terms, 500 because the amount that they invested compared to those early stages, it's here, it's left. So we had to make sure that there was safekeeping in place for everyone, but it worked out. So yeah.
Oh, good for you. I like it that you kept them on. So I understand that you've moved your production now from Singapore to Malaysia. What was the biggest challenge you faced in doing that?
Well, I think because I had been doing business, Singapore is lovely. Singapore is easy. Everything is so clear. Everything is online, and you know what you're getting.
Right.
You have to apply for a permit.
Yes.
This is the list of 10 documents. It's exhaustive, and there's no surprises. So, I mean, I come from Belgium. Belgium is also a bit of a little bit more chaotic out there. So I have experience with that. But Malaysia has been great. Absolutely no negative comments on it. But it's a big difference between Singapore, where everything is neatly in a box, to Malaysia, which was obviously very new to me. So the biggest hurdles have been navigating those hurdles that the government, customs kind of keep throwing your way. Because Malaysia, obviously they produce a lot of raw materials themselves.
Right.
They try to protect that, local ecosystem. They try to push companies to buy locally.
Yes.
By imposing, high import duties, etc. And I didn't, do my research well enough. I didn't prepare well enough. So I bought all of my equipment and my first round of raw materials from China, thinking it was going to be much cheaper, which it was. But then when you come to Malaysia, they're like, here's the border. You got to pay 30% import duties. And you can apply for exemptions because they do try to, help companies. There is, they do want to, increase companies and help companies to come in, and the whole, JS SEZ, they're trying to open up a bit more, and you can get exemptions, but just getting the exemptions is a 6-month-long process.
Wow.
So that was one of the biggest hurdles for me, is kind of navigating that whole ecosystem of duties, taxes, import. That was, it's still an ongoing challenge. Another one has definitely been supply chain management. Again, because Singapore, you can really easily buy anything you want worldwide and bring it in. Again, Malaysia is trying to push you to buy locally. So, finding yuzu juice that we use for our, yuzu lavender kombucha has been tough. Sourcing the local fruits that we use, making sure the quality is good. So, setting all of that up has been a bit of an issue, but that's smoothed out now. That was really more of an early stages problem when we moved. Another one would be maybe hiring, finding staff. Again, because Johor is big, but it's not. Obviously, I'm not looking to hire people from KL. I'm trying to look, locally, and a lot of I don't know if it's the right word, Johorians. I don't know how you would call them. The really qualified ones, they aim for higher salaries. They come to Singapore. So in the local market, there is amazing talent, but you have to kind of dig to find it.
Right. Okay.
And you have to, reel them in with some incentives. So that's been a bit of a struggle, is to find, people and who also understand what we're doing.
Right.
Because again, kombucha in Malaysia is present, but it's not a big thing yet. So finding people who want to come and brew kombucha, Malaysia has also been, when you try to explain what it is, they sometimes go, "What are you doing? Is it alcohol? Is it halal?" So yeah, that's been a few of the challenges that I faced over time.
Right.
There.
And you mentioned about tariffs, right? And we know about the recent news, Liberation Day in America, and the trade wars, the tariff wars that's imposed. Has it had any effect on you?
Well, not really, because I've only really started importing in the last 2 months.
Right.
So yes, I am kind of waiting to see how it's going to go over time. But lesson learned for me, I am now shifting my focus to buy from Malaysia where I can.
Yes.
So for example, my glass bottles, my first container, I bought it from China. I'm now talking to a Malaysian supplier to get it custom made in Malaysia. Because the price actually is the same.
Right.
And you avoid all of the hassle of having it shipped over and clearing duties. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes for me for those tariffs, but I'm going to try to go as local as I can.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned about the SEZ. What kind of opportunities do you see there? Not really just for yourself or companies who are looking to go into Johor, the special economic zone.
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities did you observe over there?
Okay, sensitive topic. So I'm a member of SBF, and the past year I went to a lot of their talks about the JSSEZ because I knew I was going to move, and I was curious to see, what was there for SMEs. And only I think about 4 months ago, there was a mission to Johor that I went with, and what kind of became clear was that they are attracting companies, but they're attracting the MNCs.
Right.
If you want to get some incentives or tax reliefs, you have to invest, I believe, the minimum is 500 million ringgit. I'm not at that level. But so what they explained, and it'll take time, and I'm sure we will feel it at one point, those MNCs that they are attracting, and there's quite a few that are now moving there, obviously that's going to kind of cascade and waterfall down to those SMEs supporting those MNCs. So that's, they said, we're hoping that more SMEs will also come. Yes, we might not have tax incentives for you guys, but business is going to boom when those MNCs come, because they are going to need supply chain and other things to kind of set up their business. So, other companies looking at maybe moving, I would say, yes, do it. It is worth it. Space-wise, cost-wise, you might not get straight, tax relief or other things. But I do believe that the vision they have together, Singapore and Johor, is going to work out quite well. It might take some time to get there, but it's worth it. But do prepare really well beforehand.
but I think it does make sense, right? You need to bring in the MNCs for the ecosystem to sort of kickstart, because they are the ones with the budget and everything. I think you're right. Once they are there, once they are entrenched, all the other SMEs can go in, and then they can be the ones supporting. And that's where all the opportunities come. And hopefully, even for SMEs like yourself, there could be more tax relief incentives, right?
I do believe they plan to roll some out, but not in the very near future. It might take another 3 to 5 years for that to happen. But yes, as you said, they have to get the MNCs kind of settled first, and then the rest will follow.
But it's good for you. You're there early. You're the first few to be there, right? You'll reap the rewards later.
Yes, hopefully.
And you are in quite a crowded space, like what some of your friends who have told you, Remedy, right? If I just go back to the beginning a little bit, what gave you the courage to take on some of these big boys?
It's believing in your product, and I know it sounds, kind of cliche, but when we first started making our kombucha, when we knew we have something that's really good.
Right.
Because when you would open a bottle or a can of Remedy, and nothing against them, it's a different kind of product. It's very fizzy. It kind of hurts your throat. It's made with extracts. So the final product is different. So we kind of very early on said we can beat them in the Singapore market and Malaysia locally. And again, because our product is currently Wild Boocha is a raw kombucha, so it has to be kept refrigerated.
Right.
So exporting that, to Thailand or Vietnam is complicated. But for the kind of regional area, we said we have something that's so much nicer than Remedy. So we just, you believe in yourself, and again, as I said, you full steam ahead. And because yes, the market is crowded, but I think it's the same with craft beers, right? Everyone has their own recipe.
Right.
The flavor profiles are all very different. And you kind of build a loyal following of customers that like your brand or your flavor. And that's what we kind of try to do from the beginning, is set ourselves apart by our really light flavored kombucha. It's easy to drink, you don't feel that burn. And so we said, yeah, sure, remedy is still there, and those who want to grab a can on the go, and fine. But for those who are really looking for a high quality product, who are willing to maybe spend a little bit more, this is what we're offering.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like you did a lot of validation as well, right? To get customer feedback.
Yes.
And to keep on improving your product.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a huge part, which I hear a lot of other founders, they go through the same iteration process as you.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to. Otherwise, you're just working in a vacuum, and nothing evolves. So yeah.
Okay. Maybe I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What is your one advice to other startup founders who want to be an entrepreneur?
One advice. I think for me it would be, it's one word, it's grit. You have to have grit, and you have to persevere, because everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And if you don't have that kind of drive, then there's no point, because you're gonna either fail or give up. And even if you feel you are failing, is that grit that's kind of gonna keep you, okay, let's get going and let's climb back up that hill and get out and get better.
Right. One thing is for sure, you will definitely fall. You will definitely fail at some point.
Yes.
And so grit is the only thing, or at least one of the things that will bring you back up and continue the journey again.
Yeah.
So that's really good advice. And I hope entrepreneurs will take it and have that grit to continue fighting in whatever space that they are fighting in.
For sure.
Yeah. So thank you. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us.